Hey, what's up? What's up? What's up? Hey, you listen to Oz on Smash Bros Radio, the only digital award-winning digital radio station located in Birmingham, Alabama. What's up? If you have not done so, please like, follow, share, and subscribe, as well as download our app. Follow, take us wherever you want to. Good morning to you. I'm Oz. You can find me on all social medias. You can find me on TikTok. Find me on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, as well as Facebook. Appreciate you stopping in. Got a lot going on. We're going to discuss what norms are, and do we have norms? Are we back to where we were before COVID? So, if you have not done so, please put down on your calendars for November 9th. Ooh, where did it go? There it is, right there. November 9th, 2004. November 9th, the Southern Bully Showdown. Bessemer Civic Center, 1130 9th Avenue Southwest, Bessemer. If you have any questions, you can contact Dewan Hall at 205-460-6435. 205-460-6435. If you're a vendor, if you have a food truck, if you are wanting to participate, if you want to donate, if you want to be a sponsor, get in touch with Dewan, 205-460-6435. There are going to be four ICBR shows, and then there's going to be one huge fun show. So please put down in your calendars November 9th. We'd like to see you there. So, norms. What the hell are norms? Norms are what we are familiar with. Norms are how we live our life. Norms are pretty much a routine of what we do when it comes to our lives, and something that's familiar to life, something that that gives us a way of doing things. And I keep telling folks that what was before COVID is no longer after COVID. We have to change the way that we see things. We have to change the way that we do things. We have to come up to where we are more aware of things. COVID has scared the hell out of us. People don't seem to want to, but COVID is still around. and we have to make sure that we're keeping up the way that we did things, the way that we participated in things, the way that it's just the general, all everything about life thing. That's what it's all about. Um, it's kind of frightening when you have individuals who are older who say that things are not like what they used to be. They're not. And in a way, we know that things are not supposed to go, are not supposed to be the same way because we have different ways of doing things. But you have to understand that when COVID hit us with a triple punch. It wasn't, it was like one huge tidal wave, one large tsunami. It took us out, and we had to re-examine how we did things. We had to re-examine how we manufactured things. We had to re-examine how we delivered. We've never, our grandparents, our great grandparents, our great aunts and uncles experienced the Great Depression. They experienced World War I, World War II, where things were rationed out, where you had to be extremely cautious, and there was prohibited certain things that you weren't allowed to do that was the norm. Things were rationed. But see, you have to understand it wasn't one huge wave. It was years before or years after, because you had the Dust Bowl. We had to get over the Dust Bowl. You had to understand exactly what generated the Dust Bowl, what was the reason for the Dust Bowl. And then you went from the Dust Bowl, then you went into a different way of farming. And then you had this polio scare, which was years later. Then you had World War I. You had to re-examine that. Then you had World War II. You had to re-examine what you had re-examined earlier, and understand that because of the mistakes that you made during WW1 is the reason why you have WW2. And then all of a sudden you have the Great Depression, where people were losing stuff. So you had to do a re-examining of why did we have a Great Depression? What were the cause and effects of the Great Depression? But see, everything occurred years. It wasn't one huge, tremendous issue. We never went through a pandemic. We have never experienced a pandemic before. So now we're at the stage where, did we learn anything from the pandemic? And if we did, what did we learn? So what was the norm a long time ago? How we shopped, how we socialized, how we educated, all changed. And some of it could have been avoided, some of it couldn't have been avoided. But how are we doing now? I mean, it's been 3 years, and we still experience the side effects of COVID. So what are the norms for you now? Have you, anything that you did before COVID, have you changed? Because see, from the government standpoint, you would hope that our government would have learned how to combat, how to be forewarned, how to be proactive when it comes to not having a pandemic again. And what caused the pandemic? Was it lackadaisiness? Was it laziness? Was it indifference? Was it I don't give a happy God? What caused it to be a pandemic? Because see, people don't seem to understand Obama went through a pandemic, but because of it being handled correctly and properly and efficiently and effectively, we didn't even know we had it. Which comes back to mind, have we changed our way when it comes to electing our officials? I don't think that we have. I don't think that we have. I think that we're still voting because of popularity. We're not voting if an individual is qualified or have the receipts to show that they are well aware of the issues and the problems and the concerns that the neighborhood or the district has. So what are your norms now? One thing that tickled me was to find out that parents were allowing their children to say what they wanted to eat, and the children would have four types of meals, and the individual would cook those four meals. That was really it took me by surprise. How are you going to allow your children to dictate what they eat, and then you come up here, you cook those four meals? So have you changed? Have you changed? Have you changed your way of doing? Have you changed your way of thinking? I think that people want to get back to the way that it was, but we can't. We've gone through too much. We've lost too much. We've lost individuals. We've lost family members. We've lost friends because of stupidity and because of not being proactive. A long time ago, the norm was that you would have a father and a mother, and then you have 2.5 children. You would have a white picket fence. That's not the norm anymore. We've always had single parents. We always had single mothers. The norm back during my day was that the neighborhood looked after the children. That's not the norm any longer. We always had latchkey kids. A latchkey kid is an individual, is a child, or that would come home from school and they would stay inside until their parents came. Or if there was a close relationship in the neighborhood, well, then the norm during my day was you would come home, you would do your homework, and then you would go out to play. Or you would come home, take the clothes from the clothesline, which we don't use, we don't dry clothes any longer outside. See, the norm for me when I was growing up was that when I got up, the clothes were washed because my parents worked. Clothes were washed. It was my responsibility to get the clothes on the line and then take my sister to school, and then I go to school. Then I would come home, stop by, pick up my sister, walk home, take the clothes down from the clothesline, fold the clothes up, put the clothes in the proper place in the different rooms. I didn't have to put them in the drawers or anything like that. Put them in the proper room. Do my homework. Could not turn on the television. Do my homework. And then if I had time, then I could go out to play. Then around 4:30, Mama would come home around 5. She would always have something for me to put on. So I would put whatever she wanted me to put on, whether it was peas, whatever vegetables, whatever the side dishes were. She fried, she baked, and she did that. But I had to make sure that whatever she had out was out. Had to make sure that the dishes was washed, dishes were dried and put away. Had to make sure that my room was clean. Had to make sure my bed was made. That was the norm for me. That was the norm for pretty much everyone who was back during my day. That was our norm. Our norm was that everything that we needed was in our community. Churches were in our community. Schools were in our community. Shopping, grocery stores were in our community. What we needed other than that, we went downtown. That was the norm. You went to church on Sundays. You went to Bible school on Wednesdays. You went to choir practice on Fridays or Saturdays. That was the norm. We had families living within families. We had the extended family. My folks lived with my maternal grandparents. Everybody fed into the pocket. Everybody worked that worked. In the mornings before school, I wasn't called to get up. The bacon, the frying of the bacon or the smell of the bacon woke me up. And I had better be up before breakfast hit the table and had my bed made, my face washed, my teeth brushed, and dressed. After we ate, I had to make sure that my dish was put into the sink, and if there was water, and 9 times out of 10 there was already hot water waiting. I had to wash the dish, put it in the drainer, gather my books, and head out to school. I had to walk a certain way. I had to say hello to certain individuals in the community. Miss Gray was an old lady that I had to speak good morning to. I had to walk the same way back. That was the norm for me. We always ate. We always ate breakfast together. We always ate supper together. On weekends, I had to make sure that the bathrooms were clean. I had to make sure that the trash was taken out. I had to go outside and stay outside. Even for lunch, you ate outside. And it was usually a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And if you dropped it on the ground, you better pick it up and eat it. If you wanted water, you drank from the hose. It wasn't always just going in and going out. It wasn't even staying. And see now they've come out where because of COVID and because of all these social media games, we have what the experts call popcorn brains. You didn't even have to have um, 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 hey, you didn't have to. You were on the kids now on these games and stay in. There's no socializing going on. They've lost, and the attention span. There is no attention span. What is an extension span? Because you always what do you call it? Surfing. So the norm is no longer the norm. We were not familiar with shelves not having groceries or having supplies. We were not familiar with individuals or in our grocery stores not having all the stuff that we wanted. See, our grandparents went through that. Our grandparents went to where things were rationed out. See, the norm back then was that men went to work, women stayed at home. That was the norm. Then the war started. You had World War I. So now you have the men going off into the service. So the workforce had to be the women. Where do you think that? Where do you think that? Where do you think that TV dinners? Why do you think TV dinners were created? TV dinners were created because the females were no longer in the homes preparing or prepping for food. So you had to make it easier for society. So you had to make these ready-made foods. I think it was Swanson that we ate. TV dinners. And that's what they were. They were TV dinners because we ate around the TV. That was the norm. See, I remember the days to where there wasn't that much. We did not know there wasn't that much in the home because it was not our part as a child or a part of the younger ones to know exactly what was going on in the home. That was the adults' place. That was the adults' responsibility to understand that. So I remember the days to where my grandmother would make biscuits. We didn't have canned biscuits. Canned biscuits did not come up until after the World War. So biscuits were made from scratch. I still know I was taught how to make biscuits. There was always a bowl that was used. That always had flour in it. And put your fist in it and make this little hole, this crater. And then you use the ends of your the second line of your fingers, and that's how much Crisco that you would use. How much? And then you use buttermilk. And there was a way that my grandmother would mix with her hand, with her fingers, the Crisco and the flour together to make a ball. See, she didn't measure. I was taught. I wasn't taught how to measure. I was taught to eye it, and that's how I still cook. I eye things. I don't measure. I eye things. The way that what I see, that's what I do. When it comes to seasoning, I eye it. That's how I was taught. That was the norm back then. You made things from scratch. Dumplings were made from the same dough that biscuits were made out of. Have an Alligator syrup. Now, see, from what I understand here in Alabama, you really had only two types of syrup. You had Yellow Label, which was made here in Birmingham, right? I think the place used to be right across from Railroad Park. And then you had Alligator syrup. And Alligator gets its name Alaga from Alabama and Georgia. That's where Alligator gets its name from. You only had one type of pickles, and that was Whitfield pickles. And their headquarters was down in Montgomery. Alligator Syrup's headquarters was down in Montgomery. And sopping, you would get a block of some butter, and mix the alligator syrup in with the butter. And then you put that on some biscuits, and that's what you ate. That was the norm for me. Saturdays were no cooking. You didn't cook on Saturdays. My granddaddy would go down to Chris's Hot Dogs and get the hamburgers and hot dogs. That was the norm. Didn't cook on Saturdays. Sundays was cooking. And the norm back then was that, and it amazed me that the norm back then was that the ladies, the women of the family knew the temperature of the oven and would leave and go to church while the stuff was cooking, while the roast was cooking. Didn't have any fires. That was the norm for me. So see, the grandparents and great grandparents had already gone through the Dust Bowl, the Great Depression. Then we had the polio. That's when we had the booster shots. Those of us we have a mark in our arm where we had the booster shot. We had measles, mumps. Had to be cautious of polio. Then we had what is it, the telethons. Jerry Lewis's telethon, muscular dystrophy. That was the norm. Captain Kangaroo, cartoons on Saturdays, cartoons in the paper on Sundays. That was the norm. That was the norm. Didn't know anything any better. But now you don't have cartoons on Saturdays. You don't have cartoons in the newspaper. And most newspapers now are on the web. Is a novelty to have a newspaper delivered to you, to your home, to have milk delivered to your home. So that was the norm. Everyone always had a garden. We always raised some foods, some vegetables. That was the norm. Washing the walls, washing the baseboards, washing the bathroom. You had to wash the tub out. You had to wash around the commode, especially around the bottom of the commode, the toilet. We had Lysol liquid. I don't think kids know how to clean the bathroom anymore. I don't know if kids know how to take out the trash. I know they don't know even know shit over here. I see parents or the adults raking yards. I had to rake a yard. I had to cut grass. I had to cut the yard. Kids don't cut yards no more. They don't rake grass anymore or rake the leaves up. They don't. That's the norm now. See, when I was being raised, I had expectations. There were expectations that I was to follow. There was rules and regulations that I was to follow. I didn't have a say in the matter. Didn't even know what a say was. I never questioned. See, that was the norm. You didn't question the elders. You did what you was told to do. You never threw it. Well, you do it. It didn't matter what they did. It's what I did. What I did. We never thought about striking. Oh, Lord, no. Kids striking their parents? Are you for real? When they said that I made you and I would take you out and create another one, they meant they would take you out. And then back then, whoever was in the house, that's how many whippings you got. And understand, we used to say beatings, and it was a misconception with beatings because we were not beat back during my day. We got whippings. We were not beat. We got whippings. We had expectations. We had goals. You had to have a goal. You had to have expectation. The family expected something from every member of the family, and you had to live up to that obligations. We had expectations. We had obligations. We had goals. We had responsibilities. Yep. Soft singing and flower bringing. We don't eat as a family unit. We don't have a particular, we don't sit down for breakfast no more. We don't sit down for supper no longer. That was a norm. It was expected that you were going to be home by this time to sit down. There was no excuses. You didn't have an excuse. There was no, what excuse can you come up with? You were late, point blank. That was it. You were late. I don't want to hear why you were late. You were late. I knew to be in before the street lights came on. I didn't even know the street lights hum before they came on. I didn't find that stuff out until I was in my 30s. Street lights hum. They make a humming sound before they come on. I never knew that because my behind was always in before the street lights came on. And then I had to be in before the sun hit the horizon. I never saw the sunset. I swear to you, I never saw the sunset. That was a norm for me. I had to respect everybody in the community, every elder in the community. Had to do what every elder in the community told me to do. I was not to embarrass the family. Forget me. It's not about me. It's about the family. The image that you projected, the image that you have, the image that you have out there in the community. That was the most important thing. And see, I was at a disadvantage because my folks lived around their folks. And since I lived with my maternal grandparents, two houses down was my maternal great grandparents, my granddaddy's mom and daddy, Mama Carter and Papa Sid. The two streets over was my grandmother's brother, Uncle Barney, and his wife, Aunt Eunice. Then there was Uncle Ed, Aunt Frances. And then because of my grandparents being in the Masonic order, oh, it was, please, everyone knew me. There wasn't anything I couldn't do without being told on. That was the norm. That was the norm for my life. I had expectations. I had obligations. I had goals. I had responsibilities. Never questioned anything because that was the norm for my life. Had to go to church. There was no question. Didn't want to hear it. You had to go to Sunday school, then you stayed for church. I don't think people go to Sunday schools anymore. I think they just go to church. That was the norm for me. And I think that there's some things that we have to get back to, like eating together as a family. I can understand the breakfast part because of the scheduling. But I think that when it comes down to supper, I think the majority of the families can go back to eating as a family, and it is an expectation. You better be here during this time. I don't want to hear anything about, well, no, 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 no. If you don't have football practice or if you don't have any extracurricular activities, you better be here at this table. And I think there should be some limit, some parental something when it comes to these games and when it comes to being inside. And I think that that's one reason why kids are getting sick is because they're not getting outside. I played in the mud, made mud pies. And yes, I did eat dirt. I did. I ate dirt. But we weren't as sick as what we are now. So the norm, what are norms now? Do we actually have norms anymore? I think really the only norms is that we know we have to go to work and we come home. We may go to church. We may go, and if you're politicians, you may go to different meetings or events and all. But other than that, what are the norms? And do we want norms? Is there something about having norms? You don't have you don't have that community watchdogs anymore, or community relationships, or rapport, or dynamics. You don't have that. And I'm guilty because I don't know some of the people that live here in my subdivision. I don't want to know the majority of the individuals in the subdivision. I stay inside unless I'm outside working in the yard. Now I am cordial, I'm friendly, or as friendly as I can be. I had to go to the grocery store. I've learned how to call Kroger or to call Walmart and have the groceries delivered from me. Now, the only thing I won't have delivered are the vegetables and also the meats. I won't have those. I go and get them myself. I've tried that, and I would rather the produce and the meats. I choose them myself. But anything else, majority 95% of my groceries are delivered to me. That's my norm. That's my norm. Working in the yard is my norm. But what are your norms? Have you changed anything about the way that you do things, the way that you view things after COVID? And we're still being affected by COVID. And as I've stated many times before, you're looking at least between 15 and 20 years. And I'm 64. So at 84, oof. So if you have children that are 4, they're going to be 24. If you have children that are in their teens, 15, they're going to be 35 years old. If you're 50, you're going to be 70 years old. The norms we have no longer. We don't make things from scratch anymore. Everything is pre-made, frozen, put it in the oven, put it in the microwave. See, we didn't have microwaves. Everything that you warmed up had to be warmed up either in the oven or on top of the stove. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have iPads. We had beepers. I had a beeper. Had a phone too, huge ass phone. I think they were called Blackberries back then. I didn't have a Blackberry. The only ones that I knew that had Blackberries were executives. We didn't have iPads. We didn't have computers. We didn't have what people were being video doing. Oh, I'm so glad that we didn't have video. Ooh, We had rotary phones. We had phones that hung on walls. We had phones that had those long cords. So that way we could lay on the floor and just listen to each other breathe. I swear to you. I swear to you. We would be on the phone and not say anything to anyone for at least 15, 20 minutes and not say anything. We would just be on the phone, laying on the floor, laying in the bed. If you had a phone in your room, oh man. But most of the time the phones were either located in the hall or located in the kitchen. We didn't have phones in the bedrooms. Didn't even know about phones in the bedroom. Are you serious? So if the phone rang, we had to get up, and go to this wherever the phone, and it's mostly located in the hallway. If you go to an old home and you see this little what you call it, concave thing, that's what the phone was in. That's what housed the home, the phone. And usually, you had a bench that had a little top on top that we had the phones. Norms. What are norms? What are norms? What is that? What does that word actually mean to us? Norms. You have single parents. You have where a single parent can adopt a child. It doesn't matter about your sexual preference. You have different types of families that are now the norm. So what are your norms? And that's something that we have to look. That's something that we have to look. Does that give us any type of security not to have norms, or norms something of the past? Is there a purpose? Is there a reason for norms? Or is the norms part of establishing expectations, responsibilities, setting goals? Is that what norms no longer have? Is that the reason why teenagers or this younger generation seems to have no type of substance? Has education changed, or should it change? You have now where the politicians are giving taxpayer dollars to charter schools, to private schools. So what exactly are norms? What are your expectations? What are your obligations? What are your responsibilities? And are you setting obligations, responsibilities, expectations? Are you raising your children knowing what obligations are, what responsibilities are? Do they know what your expectations are? Have you told them what your expectations? Have you told them what their responsibilities are? What have you taught them? Not a teacher, not society, but what you as a parent, what have you taught your children? Because it all starts at the home. It all starts with the parents. Parents are the ones that lay the foundation. That's what it was the norm for me. No one told me. It was taught by my family. It was taught by the elders in my family. These are your obligations. These are your expectations. These are your responsibilities. And you are to follow them or suffer the consequences. So, as parents of today, have you raised your children to understand what their obligations are, what their responsibilities are, what their expectations are? Because I feel personally that that's one reason why we have the issues and the problems that we have, is because the children, the younger generation, have no type of responsibilities, have no type of expectations. have no type of obligations. And I wouldn't want society to teach those to my children. I don't think that's the norm. I don't want that to be the norm. You allow strangers to teach your children responsibilities, expectations, obligations. I wouldn't want it that. I don't trust the dog. And everybody know, and I keep telling you, 98%, I feel 98% of the human population should die and go to hell. And I'm sincere when I say that. I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed. I think there's some individuals living now that shouldn't be breathing. Not sorry. Not sorry. So what are your expectations? What are the norms for you? Some things should say, some things should remain. You know, I have a problem when I hear these politicians say Alabama values. The hell is Alabama values? Because from what I have seen, from what I have witnessed, their definition or their whatever of Alabama values are not mine. And again, you can't get any more Alabamian than me. I'm 7th or 11th generation Alabamian. My folks originated in Bruton, Alabama. Went from Bruton, Alabama to Opp, Alabama to Andalusia, Alabama. Some live in Sylacauga. But the core, the originals, started in Bruton. They were preachers or teachers. So you can't get any more Alabamian. You cannot get any more blue blood, whatever the hell that means. Can't get any more Alabamian than me. So what do you mean by Alabama values? But it's time. It's time for us to wise up. It is time for us to start paying attention. It is time for us to make those changes or that are not a necessity to make sure that the next generation, to make sure that the young folks in your family know exactly what their obligations are, to know exactly what their responsibilities are, to know exactly what the obligations, expectations. And stop giving these responsibilities to these strangers. And then once you have relinquished, or when you have given strangers the permission, then all of a sudden when you find out that that's not what you want your children to do or to learn or to what, then you want to get upset. You shouldn't get upset because you gave away your parental rights. In reality, you did. Because you're not raising your children in the norm of knowing exactly what responsibilities are, expectations are. You become lax. Now you have this popcorn mentality because the attention span isn't what it's supposed to be. Because they're surfing, they're flicking, they're going back and forth. Norms. Norms. Whew. I wouldn't be a parent now for anything in the world. It's too hard. Responsibilities too much. And especially when you have the ones that are in elementary, then you have the ones that are in junior high / middle school, then you have in high school, and then you have about these 4,000 extracurricular activities, and then you're putting in the work and you're seeing that your check is not going as far as it's supposed to be, which was the norm back then. You would give a company your years. You would give a company 30 to 35 years, and then you received a pension, and then you got your Social Security that you added to your pension, or you added to your or added to your retirement, and then you live comfortably. You were able to have your children in all these activities, all these extracurricular activities, and you were able to have all this. Parents don't have that anymore. The norm's not there anymore. And you're so stressed out because you want your children to have more, to be well-rounded, and you're trying your best. And I think that 98% of the parents are trying their best to have some type of normalcy. But you're seeing your check is growing smaller and smaller. You're earning the same thing that you did 5 years ago or 3 years ago or whatever. And then, you may have one or two raises in between then, but your checks are not what they're supposed to be because of irresponsibility. But what can you do? What can you do? Norms, normacy. Something to think about. Something to think about. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you stopping in because you didn't have to, but I appreciate you. But something's got to be done. Something's got to be done. Know your value. Know your worth. Know that you can do anything that you possibly want to do, and that you're the only one that sets the obstacles before you, because you are wise enough, you're smart enough, you have the response, you have that tenacity to do whatever. I have two people who I can prove have naturally free masseuse, yoga, successful business. So if you're looking for a masseuse, if you're looking for exercise, if you're looking for yoga, check Naturally Free out. Fantastic. Fantastic. Crystal, Berries by Crystal. Oh my God. Oh! And see, you don't have to wait for holidays. You don't have to wait for occasions. You don't have to. You can get Berries by Crystals anytime. You call her and say, "Hey, listen, I don't know what I want, but I want something good." And also, they have a truck. Oh, you got to check out the truck. Oh. Berries by Crystal. Naturally Free. Two examples of successes. They had this dream. They had this expectation. Successful. They never let anyone hinder them. But again, know your value, know your worth, and most importantly, know that I love you more than I love my luggage. I will see y'all tomorrow. Take care of yourselves.